All right, welcome back to the STR podcast, otherwise known as the Start the Rebuild podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Fournier, alongside Ian Mills.
What's going on? A couple weeks ago, we talked about we need to bring jerseys
Yeah,
back.
it's like when's a good situation to wear a
And this
jersey?
is the
We have too many,
situation.
and this is the
And
situation.
these are both Tim's jerseys. I'm stealing this one from you for the
Yeah,
time
we
being.
didn't plan accordingly. You have plenty to choose from, but
Yeah, you know what? This is I love this. The little creamsicle, LeGarrette Blunt.
yep,
It's
explain.
it is very clean, little Todd Gurley
Todd
throwback.
Gurley, throwback. Todd Gurley. I actually little known facts about me because Rochester is not really a well, I was about to say Rochester is not really like a solid college football team to root
Mhm.
for, but Will Anderson would definitely disagree
Well,
with me.
yeah,
I kind of just put those dots together.
yeah.
But I just randomly was obsessed with Todd Gurley and Nick Chubb at Georgia.
Mm.
So I was just like, and then when he went to the NFL and they had these jerseys, I thought these were sick. So
I
I got
was,
these.
you're right, college football in the Northeast in general, but specifically in Rochester is not big at all. But like
Yeah.
being into sports, you're always got to root for something. I
Yeah.
was a Clemson fan. I remember like back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like because I liked like
Taj
Taj Boyd.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Taj Boyd. And then he got drafted by the Jets and never played. But
Yeah, well, there was actually some insane. I remember, I think it was 2 years in a row, Georgia Clemson games that I watched.
mhm.
It was like Todd Gurley, low key Sammy Watkins.
I think our seventh grade year, they played to start the year.
Yeah, I
Uh,
vividly remember
and
that.
it was like opening kickoff. And I think
And
Georgia won.
Todd Gurley had like I think he ran the opening kickoff
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And he's number 3 in college. Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah.
Gone too soon. But this is episode 33, also known as the Larry Bird episode,
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
the Devonta Freeman on the Ravens.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I had one before we came on, or Saron Neal, I believe, wore 33 with the Bills, if I remember correctly. I had one
Shaq.
before. Shaq was the one I had
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
Yeah, Shaq.
yeah.
He wore
He wore
33,
32 as
32,
well.
33, 34, and 36. He wore 4 different numbers in his
Yeah.
career, but 33 was
Yeah,
someone.
there's definitely some other 33s that
Scottie Pippen?
This
Oh.
is Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
This is a really random poll that I'm pretty sure is true that I might need someone to check for me.
Sure.
But I think Will Hill on the Ravens, former safety that used to always get suspended for like PEDs or something.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually in the year the Ravens went like 4-12 or 5-11. They had a kick six game-winning touchdown on Thursday Night Football against the Browns.
I remember that.
Can you fact check me?
He's
Will
33.
Hill? They're 33. Boom. Will Hill. Ravens knowledge.
I also checked Saron Neal, Bills special team extraordinaire from like 2019 to 2023, and he wore number 33 as well.
Wow, we are killing it. There's definitely Will can tell us who we missed in the comments.
Which obscure Bengals from
Yeah, it's
Bengals
gonna be like
2008.
Cedric Benson or something. He definitely wore something in the 30s.
Yeah, he did. Actually, you know what?
I feel like he was number 30.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I think Jeremy Hill might have worn 32.
Cedric Benson was 32.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of then.
And then who was it? Who would you say?
Jeremy Hill.
You might just be thinking because of the
I might
Cedric
just be
Hill.
thinking.
He's also 32.
Wow.
We
Insane poll.
Wow,
That was actually nuts.
We literally last week we could have had both of those guys. I wonder if Will commented that we missed both of them.
Oh,
week.
he definitely did.
So
He definitely did. And we missed Jimmer Fredette,
we did, which is bad.
which is terrible because you always call me Timmer.
My-
I have the jersey. I should have worn it
My
at
contact
this house.
or your contact in my phone is Timmer Fredette.
Such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that was bad.
We're gonna have to wait for 100 more episodes.
To get back to get back
That is
into
terrible.
2 years worth of
Wow.
eps.
2 years. Wow. We
But
suck. But
it was Christmas. We
it
should
was
say.
Christmas. How was that experience?
I had to work on Christmas. I had to work at Christmas Day.
Wow.
But Christmas
What did
Eve
you
was cool.
cover?
I did like a story on this local high school and I shot it earlier in the week. And then, hey, Chiefs and Ravens won and how
There
that
you go.
affected the Bills
There you go.
because it affected their playoffs.
Now they're pretty much locked into the two.
Assuming they don't.
Lose one of the next two.
Which if they lose one of the next two, then someone's like, well, you're probably not going to beat the Chiefs if you can't beat the Ravens. Or assume you beat
The Jets and
Jets and the Patriots.
Patriots. Yeah, I don't even know, dude. I mean, the MVP race is getting closer now.
It's a lot closer. I think my whole thing that I've been thinking about is Josh is still the favorite, not by nearly as much as when we talked about this like 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
he basically, if they win this week against the Jets, which they're going to be, I think they're heavy. I know they're heavy favorite in that
Mhm.
game. He's not going to play week 18. And I'm curious how voters see that because Lamar
Yeah,
has to play and he basically
yeah,
needs to, not needs to win, but if he wins, he
I
gets the
know it's gonna
division.
be weird.
And so, like, but Josh Allen might, so is Josh Allen going to get penalized almost for clinching the two
And
seed
he might
early?
because like the argument for Lamar is that he's got the stats, and
Hmm.
then his stats are gonna look even better when he's got a full game up on
Assuming
him.
he has a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if he has a bad
Right.
if he has a bad game, he's done because he's kind of trying to make up
Right.
ground. But yeah, it's nuts. One thing I keep hearing about, which I'm interested in your take on, is I feel like the narrative has been that like Josh is like putting the team on his back with like nothing around him. And it's true to an extent, for sure. That I feel like it's something like Lamar like never got in his time before. I mean, like Derrick Henry, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. And then people are saying like Derrick Henry is like having Derrick Henry is like a knock on Lamar's MVP case, and it's kind of
It's dumb.
like when have we ever like done that? And then
Yeah.
it was
Well,
like
it's just
what?
because how often do we have an MVP race that's this close, this
Yeah,
late in the
at the
season?
end of
That's
the
part of
day, like
you're splitting
people
hairs.
are going to be rightfully very mad or whatever
Yeah.
happens.
Um,
It's tough. And part
yeah.
of it is like Derrick Henry is like 30 years old and had the worst season of his career and now is having one of the best seasons
Right.
of his career, I think, due to Lamar.
Well, yeah, it's the first time in his career where he doesn't have 11 guys on defense focused.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
pre-snap
yeah.
focusing on him. Yeah, no, I think my whole thing with the um uh that argument essentially is it more comes down to the preseason notions.
Yeah.
The notions that there were people saying, "Oh, Josh was nothing without Stephon Diggs. He'll be nothing without
Yeah,
Stephon
that's
Diggs this year."
true.
And I think that's the bigger thing is that coming into the year, the Ravens were coming off the one seed. Of course, they
Mhm.
lose their defensive coordinator and Mike McDonald, which was a big loss as we saw early in the season. But they're coming off the one seed. The Bills are coming off an offseason where they basically cut half their starters,
Mhm.
including their number one or traded their number one wide receiver. And so it was like, okay, this is going to be a rebuilding year. And then,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
they turn
true.
around and they beat the Chiefs and they beat the Lions and they win the AFC East on December 1st. So it's like, it's more about preconceived notions. I also think like, yeah, like the Bill supporting cast is like,
I'm not saying it's
it's not great.
good.
It's worse than the Ravens, and I think that's what sort of the argument is okay, Lamar has a better supporting cast, and it's not like he has the best supporting cast, but like
Yeah, I
Derrick
don't know.
Henry's
It's just
good.
weird. Like, I don't know. I feel like that wasn't part of the conversation at all last year, like when he did have Diggs. And Lamar won, so like it's not
Well,
like it's
yeah,
not
Lamar should have.
yeah.
I mean, Lamar won, and I think if there was any argument to be had that someone else should have won it, it wouldn't have been Josh. Like I understand why
Yeah.
people
It's
did have
weird
that
that we
argument.
pick and choose like things too. Because
Yeah,
like if you're going like the big narrative preseason was like how you said like they lost so many starters, no Diggs, but like preseason the best receiving weapon out of like the two teams I would have said is Amari Cooper, but then he's just
yeah,
like a
yeah.
non-factor.
He's
So it's
almost
like how
not
much do you
even.
even factor it in?
Right. Like that's the
I
thing
don't
too,
know.
is like I would say like Zay Flowers is better than Amari Cooper at this point in their careers.
Yeah,
You know what
it's
I mean?
weird
It's
because
like
Amari Cooper was amazing last year,
right.
and he's been like amazing for he's been good for the Bills when they
Well,
like I
in the Rams game he
I
had
am
14.
so
In the Rams game he had 14
I'm so
targets.
confused by that whole situation, and I feel like no one talks about it.
Well, he makes it a non-factor. Because like he's been asked about it a million times.
Yeah,
McDermott's been asked it a million times. Josh Allen's been asked about it a million times, and their whole thing is like, listen, we're winning. I mean, I know they lost to the Rams recently, but like Amari Cooper, like when they beat the Lions and he had zero targets, he like they asked him about it and he was like, I actually am happy I had no targets. He was like, it's one of the first times
yeah,
in his career where he doesn't have to like be targeted 20 times a game.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And to put up 50 points or
yeah.
48 points. So I think the whole it's a non-factor because they're the two seed, they're winning, and Amari Cooper doesn't really want to make it a thing
Yeah.
from what I can gather.
The other weird thing about the whole thing is I feel like Lamar got such a boost last year because the Ravens had the best record in the league, and
Mm-hmm.
it like seemed like they were head and shoulders a bunch against a lot of like the whole league above the whole league. in the regular season. And the funny thing about it is the Bills are most likely going to end with a better record than the Ravens last year, but there's going to be like what three
Right.
teams ahead of them,
Yeah, that's a good
which is
point. I
so
didn't even
weird.
think
So it's
about
like,
that.
so should you like value it based on the rest of the league,
Right.
or should you it should be like the number of wins?
Yeah, I
Because the
mean,
Ravens only had
that's a good
13
point.
wins, and had the best record in the NFL, and the Bills more than likely are going to end with 14,
Yeah.
but more than likely the Chiefs, Lions, and what like Vikings could be
Yeah,
ahead
it
of
could
them.
all be ahead of them. I didn't even think about that. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so it's like
Um,
which should be more.
right, right. Well, yeah, I mean, it is sort of relative to your season because, right, the Bills and Ravens did play each other. The Bills and
Mhm.
Texans played each other. And I also do think like the Chiefs, if the Chiefs are going to bench probably most of their starters next week against the
Yeah,
Broncos. So, but I mean, maybe they don't because they already have the bye. Point is, if they win that game, they're 16-1.
yeah,
And their only loss is to the Bills. And obviously,
yeah,
Josh Allen had a really good game in that game. He had a 25-yard
yeah,
touchdown run on 4th and 2 to clinch the game.
yeah,
And so, like, moments like that, I honestly wonder, like, a week and a half from now, people are going to have a retrospective on the season and be like, okay, which moments were bigger
yeah,
than the other ones? Because, like, that is unfortunately, or you know, for better or for worse, that is sort of what the MVP has, and we talked about this last week, where it's like, how big of moments did you have late in the season?
yeah,
And like we talked about, like Lamar doing what he did on Christmas Day, right? 3 touchdowns. He had a 50-yard touchdown run against blew out the Texans to take the lead in their division. That's a big moment, and it's late in the season, and it was on prime time.
mhm.
Like that's big, and so I
Yeah. It's weird
mean,
how Josh like doesn't even have the opportunity,
right, because he plays the Jets at 1 o'clock, and if they
and if
win
they
that,
win,
then
there's
he's
no
not going to
reason
play
for
in
him to
Week
play.
18. So
And he's dealing with injuries, and probably it's like 1,000% smart to sit him.
yeah. And the thing is that he did have those opportunities, and it was against the Lions, and it was against the Chiefs, and it
Yeah,
was against the 49ers, and it was against the Rams, and he had incredible
I know. Like
games
if that just happened,
2 weeks
and it
later.
was still in the second half of the season
Yes.
too.
It was literally those all four of those games were after Thanksgiving. Or no, the Chiefs was before the game or a week
Right,
before Thanksgiving.
right.
But the other three were all after the Rams game where he had 6 touchdowns.
Hmm.
The Lions game where they beat the Lions and he had 4 touchdowns.
Hmm.
And then the Niners game was on Sunday Night Football on
Yeah,
December 1st, where he had what 4 touchdowns and one was he had a passing, a receiving, and a rushing touchdown.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, if those had happened,
yeah,
if that had happened on Christmas Day, the complete opposite reaction to what happened, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it would have been so.
yeah.
My whole
It's
thing is like people that which annoys me is like people are going to be mad one way or the other, but
yes,
they're almost like tearing down the other player a
yeah,
little bit. And it's like at a certain point, it's like, hey, they're having two historically great seasons. You know what I
right.
mean? And it's like that it's not to take anything away from either player. And I think people are yeah, I think that just any fandom's gonna do that. But it's
Yeah,
like getting to a point where it's like, all right, like we're just being disingenuous now.
yeah,
Like you don't actually think Lamar or you don't actually think Josh Allen's like that overrated. You know what I
right,
mean?
right. Yeah, like I think Josh is more than likely going to win. I think it's getting closer,
Yeah.
but it's like, and like he 1,000% deserves it. And then it'll just be like, well, like no one has ever had like Lamar stats and not won MVP.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Rodgers is
But
the only other
right.
person ever, and he
Right.
won MVP. And it's just like, but
Well,
like
but
I
then
won't
you
even be like upset about it
yeah.
because it's like, how could you
Yeah. And then you put
fault them? Yeah.
it's also you put it on the flip side though, like if Lamar wins, then you could say the same thing about Josh. And I
Mhm.
understand people are like, oh well, Lamar only has 4 picks. Well, he has 5 fumbles lost. Like he has
Yeah.
9 turnovers, right?
Hmm.
And so that's the thing too, is like what looks better on a graphic? 44 total touchdowns and 4 interceptions,
Right.
or 43 total touchdowns and 6 interceptions, even though the person who had 6 interceptions has less turnovers. You know what I mean? Like those aren't the actual. I
Does
don't
he?
what Josh has less total turnovers. Yes,
By what,
I
one?
think it's 1 or 2. But my point is though, is that the fact that like
Yeah, the fact that it's like one
interception,
less interception like looks so much like
right?
better on a graphic.
The
Yeah, you're right.
interception, because he has less interceptions, it looks better on a graphic as opposed to saying, oh, but he has more total turnovers. But it's like if you're counting total touchdowns, you should be counting total turnovers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, well, if you're doing one, it's like we're almost
Yeah.
picking and choosing. And at the end of the day, though, whoever wins it, whether it's Lamar or Josh. Right now, it looks like they're going to probably meet in the second round.
Yeah.
You better win that game, right? Like if
Yeah.
you if Lamar wins it and gets his third straight, or not third straight, but third total MVP, and
Mhm.
then doesn't get out of the second round, then
Yeah.
it's
God damn.
like that narrative that's been played out the last however many years is stuck with him again. But if Josh wins MVP and he loses in the second round,
Yeah.
then it's the Joel Embiid MVP all over again. Where Nikola
Yeah.
Jokic, you know what I mean? Like it's just at a certain point, it's like, well,
That's
Mahomes,
gonna end up mattering way more,
yeah,
regardless.
oh for sure,
It's kind of all like
it's like
for nothing.
right, we're all complaining about this, and it's like, well, you guys are going to see each other in 3 weeks,
Dude,
and
that's gonna be the most hyped up game of all time.
yeah, it
Like
could
no
be,
matter what
yeah,
happens. And like there's a very good chance of happening.
yeah,
Um,
it would be. I did think about this, so like whoever wins it, if because obviously the Chiefs are the 1 seed and
yeah.
Mahomes isn't going to win it. So whoever wins it, if they were to lose in the first round, because I think voting is done after like before the playoffs start. Like I think you have to
Oh
make a
yeah,
ballot
like,
in.
yeah, yeah.
So it could be like what happened with Dirk Nowitzki in like 2008 when the Mavs were the 1 seed and lost to the Warriors.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It'd be very funny if whoever won it lost in the first round.
That'd be
And
awful.
then like I mean like awful for the player obviously and awful for the fan bases, but like in terms of narratives, like that would be crazy. Not that I want that to happen. These I would
As long as one of them goes on to the Super Bowl, I'm happy.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing too, is like you
For me,
basically as long as it's not the Chiefs again, right? It's like I think that's what most
it
people are
can't be
rooting
the
for.
Chiefs, the Steelers, and if the Bengals somehow just like got in and scored
Yeah.
50 points a game, I would literally,
Yeah.
I would do awful things, mostly to Will
Yeah.
watching this right
If
now.
you're as a Ravens fan, who do you want to play more in the first round, the Steelers or the Chargers? Because I was thinking about this.
I would rather play the Chargers.
Yeah, because I played earlier, not
The
too long.
Steelers are like not on the same level as the Ravens, but they have just black magic on their side,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
fair.
is so annoying.
Division games in the playoffs always have a bit of a weird.
I feel like the Chargers are just like they're a year or two away
Yeah, I
from
get
being
that
like
vibe from
legit,
them.
legit, and they're a very good team, and they're on the come up, I think, but I don't think they're there yet, and I think they'll just lose to
Whoever they play in the first round.
unless they're playing the Texans. The Texans
Right, I
suck.
guess. Yeah, if they play, if they get the 5 seed.
I saw there's this one guy that is not going to watch this that I watch his videos all the times, and we've made videos together. Named Tag on Instagram or TikTok, and he can like before the season started said like this is a hot take, but I think the narrative on CJ Stroud and Bryce Young will flip because everyone liked Bryce more than
Yeah.
Stroud, and then it completely flipped and said like that was the dumbest thing ever. Stroud's clearly better. And then Bryce gets benched on top of it, and he was like, "Yeah." He like made a whole video, and he's like, "Yeah, I was wrong. I'm an idiot. Like Bryce is like benched and like that was just like I thought I had good logic on it because like, before the draft everyone would have said this. And then now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying Bryce Young's better than Stroud, but
But
like
the
the
narrative is
trajectory of both of them is completely different.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I do remember that happening when they were both coming out. Bryce Young was, I don't know if he was consensus is the right word to say, but he was a
I would say consensus.
heavily
Yeah.
favored to be the number one overall pick. And then the moment he was drafted, it felt like everyone was like, "Why would they do? Why would classic
Well,
Panthers?"
it was when Stroud was
Well,
amazing.
and then yeah, Strata. But then everyone everyone was having this reaction of, "Oh, what a classic Panthers move, classic Panthers
Yeah.
move," and I was like, "Well, everyone thought they should."
Yeah, literally everyone would have done the same exact thing.
And I mean, I did feel like I think we talked about at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season, and hopefully we can find it. Not that we could find it, but I think we literally did talk about it on one of our episodes where I said like, "Hey, listen, the Texans got pretty lucky last year. I mean, they're gonna make the play, like they're gonna win the division."
They already clinched.
But my point is though, is like they got particularly lucky in a lot of really close games last year. And now they're playing a first place schedule, and it ended up not really mattering because the AFC South was just that bad.
Yeah, but they
around
like
them.
also just don't look like it's one thing to play in a close game and like look like you're
Yeah,
competitive, and
but
it's
they
another
weren't
thing to
even
just not
competitive.
even look functional.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Tank Dell's now out.
Like they're just
Stephon Diggs is out.
yeah. The honestly, like the Ravens, and I'm happy about this, are like are control their own destiny to win the AFC North. But like all of a sudden the 5 seed looks pretty appealing to get the Texans in the first round.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I mean, would I rather have the Texans in Houston or the Chargers in Baltimore? I mean, I guess the home field advantage
Chargers,
because
yeah.
like if the Bills were to somehow lose,
Right.
which they
If
shouldn't,
they play the Broncos, I mean, yeah,
then
that's
they
the thing
get
too. Is
home field advantage in the divisional, but like I don't know.
excuse me, not the Broncos. If assuming the Bills and Ravens get the 2 and the 3 seed, and they win first round, and then the Chargers have either the Texans or the Steelers, it's like, come on. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, it's like, yeah, the Bills and the Ravens will have to go to like the most hyped up game of all time. The spread will probably be like a single point,
Yeah.
and then the Chiefs will be like like 2 touchdown favorite over the Texans or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's gonna be so dumb.
But
Like the Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship regardless.
no, for sure, and
There's
they're
0% chance they're not in the AFC
and the only way I could see them not is
It's
if
honestly if the
I could see if the Chargers win their first round matchup as like a 6 seed, could they give the Chiefs like I'm sure because realistically the Bills and the Ravens can't play them in the divisional round. They have so it'd have to be the 4, 5, 6, or 7 seed. And out of the 4, 5, 6, and 7 seed, the team that makes the most sense in my head that would beat them would be the Chargers. I feel it.
yeah, and I feel like that is 0% chance.
No, of course, yeah, exactly. Like
I think
that's gonna happen
the
either.
only possible way, and I would never say this is going to happen ever. I think the only possible way they don't make the AFC Championship is if the Bengals somehow sneak into the 7 and then somehow upset the Bills,
Yeah,
which I would not pick to happen.
yeah,
But I think that is the only team with the upside to beat either of those teams.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think anyone else would have a chance.
That's fair.
And it's simply because like Joe Burrow would like throw for 5, 6 touchdowns.
My
That
thing is like,
what are you gonna do?
my
I don't think they would
right.
actually beat the Bills.
I don't even think they'd beat the Bills, but I don't think they'd beat the Chiefs.
They
like
had success against the Chiefs. They're the only team to
Yeah.
ever have success
no,
against
that's
the
fair.
Chiefs,
I mean, that's fair.
which is why I bring it up.
My whole thing though with that is that like the Chiefs offense looks like it's good now.
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And the Bengals defense is still not good.
No,
It's like
but they've been the only defense to ever.
that's true. I mean,
I don't know. They're not. They wouldn't beat.
I don't know.
think they'd beat
Pat
the Bills.
Mahomes has had one bad game in his career, and it was against the Bengals in the AFC Championship in 2021.
Yeah. So I don't know. But anyway, I guess we gotta kind of get
wrap
going
up.
here. Quick goals for next week.
My girlfriend's coming to town.
Let's go.
So
Cute.
show her a good time. I also have a big thing coming up for work that I can't talk about right now. I can talk about that next week though. So we can talk about off air. Sorry to exclude you guys, but
yeah.
So yeah, show her a good time and do well in that work thing.
Yeah, there we go. My goal, I'm so my next I don't even know what you call it, physical goal is I'm going on a very strict diet for the next 8 weeks and to just get off on the right foot on that.
When's that start?
Today.
Oh,
So to continue it, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of things I want to do in terms of training and stuff, but I want to be leaner, and I'm just gonna kind of rip the Band-Aid off and get leaner, do this, and then be able to, fuel myself before, which is a conversation for another time. But I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, Ian Ridge's face, hit the bell, whatever people say.
Happy New Year.
We'll see you. Happy New Year. That's right.
By the time
That's right,
by the
man.
time next
Happy to see you
episode comes
next
out, yeah.
year.
Oh,
Gosh.
all right.
Well, all right. See you in
We'll catch you.
episode 34, the Charles Barkley episode.
All right.
Peace out.
Giannis
Goodbye.
Antetokounmpo.
Giannis.